Varan is a very, very dynamic, prolific surgeon from Bangalore, and he is going to talk to us on a very important topic: my single practice in COVID crisis. Ilan, all yours.
Thank you, sir. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Maipal sir and the scientific committee and Dr. Partha Biswas sir for giving me this opportunity to represent to talk about what happened during COVID crisis among the doyens. Dr. Lahane sir and Dr. Mohan Rajan sir and Dr. Arun Sethi sir have contributed to the society, saved it either for the state or through the trust. But here I'll be talking about what I have to do with my small practice. In 2017, this was the state, and we moved to this larger facility in 2017. Retrospectively thinking, whether I did it right, I don't know. But what happened? Whatever happens in any kind of investment is this. The first 2 to 3 years, that is the time we fill in out-of-pocket investments to maintain that practice. And then from third year, we pick up somewhere around fourth or fifth year for any big hospital to break even. I knew this, and I kept some reserves. But then once we break even, then it becomes better. So I'll be talking about my practice where COVID stuck us exactly here at the trough, when almost everything was exhausted, and we had to look into it. Just like I told you, it was still a time when my business was improving, but we still needed money in terms of loans or whatever it was. Now, what did we do during the COVID? What happened during COVID crisis? During the lockdown, that is between March and August, because though the lockdown was lifted a little bit earlier, the trend was continuing till August. On an average, from 0 till around 12 or 13 OP, that's how the OPD had dropped. Surgeries were almost nil. It had just picked up in July and August. Collection was bare minimum, if you look at it. Post-lockdown, September to November, it was picking up, but there was high resistance, maximum of around 50% in surgeries and collections. The recovery period, December to March, particularly January to March, just like how Dr. Michael sir was telling, we almost hit more than 100%. And March was a very good month, so we thought we are going to come out of this. That was the scenario. But then all of us know what happened after that. If you look at the revenues, these are the true revenues of my hospital. These are the earnings from almost 5 lakhs average in that lockdown period, improved, and then we went ahead. But at the same time, the expenses also increased. Here, the expenses increased because of the loans that were brought into the picture. I'll show you what happened. And thereby, just when we broke even again, making the profit, the second wave has hit us. Keep calm. That's what I was always, I've been telling myself, everyone has been telling. When we look at an eye hospital, each one is interlinked. Sales, when they reduce, then you have to think about liquidity, which actually is final. Workforce is affected. Luckily for me, it was not that much. Supply chain, even that 1 or 2 patients coming in, he doesn't get what he wants. And all this, of course, employee safety, well-being, take care of people trying to cheat you. And all these, of course, governance and regulatory risk, all these lead to profitability concerns. What were the problems I faced? If you divide it into 3 clusters, definitely the demand, it was very less, patients were less. However, expenses were more. Liquidity concerns, I couldn't get the money from anywhere, even couldn't sell whatever I had. So there was issues there. And when you consider people, I was lucky enough, not much of a fraud, and my biggest strength was this employees. They stood by me except 1 or 2. But where did we face the problem? Governance and regulatory. Number 1, none of the promised loans were coming. And in place of that, there were a lot of regulatory things that were applied. Need not have to go into it. Like we were asked to change the CCTV, change certain things from the fire regulatory part, all these things. When we look at the third part, it was the business discontinuity that was creating trouble for us. Of course, there was a little bit of fraud. Luckily, we tried to look into it and then somehow sorted it out, not a major threat. Most important problem what we are facing was this supply chain disruptors, particularly in opticals and the pharmacy sector. Dr. Michael has spoke about this. So let's see what really happened. In the lockdown phase, Post-lockdown recovery, this is something I'd shown. In the lockdown phase, there was a blanket moratorium. So the expenses went down drastically, we could still survive. Post-lockdown was when we started facing problems, when we had to dip into this personal savings plus pension down. The recovery stage, partially when we were returning things, the next wave hit us. So we would be prepared for that. March 21, the cycle resumes. This was actually a slide which I had presented in April, during April when the first AOI's webinar was conducted. I slightly modified it. The plan, whatever was put up, definitely we did relook at the business plan, stopped all the purchases, tried to sell a few redundant things that were available, but not much of a thing. In the interim, trained the staff so that they could multitask and stop all levels of marketing and deployed social media marketing. This is one thing me and a couple of my staff learned social media marketing, that we are certified social media marketeers now. And then the entire lockdown period, the money was coming only through this, the online consults. Yes, we were, all these days we used to tell online consult is not good for ophthalmology. Yes, true, to a certain extent. The first consult, we cannot utilize the online consults. But follow-up consult, it's excellent. And at least to make the patient come to the hospital, the first visit, it's very good. Trying to get more funding, family and friends definitely helped me, but government and bank definitely let me down. Let's not go into the details. Yes, we did this, reduce the marketing expenses, reduce the fixed cost, reduce the stationaries. Some of it was outsourced. I'll show what they were. Inventories were completely brought down to near zero. Disposables, most of the things I was using was disposable. Went back to my older machines. Group practice is something I tried but could not stop. Now, this is one thing I want to specify. Luckily for me, most of my staff, except one or two, except probably 10% of my patients and their place, we could retain. And I'm really thankful to those staff and those patients. There were a lot of HR problems. All of us would have faced this. Staff were afraid. Most of them were very young. They left their state, come here, staying with us, and then working in our hospital. There was a threat of greater attrition of staff. Many of them wanted to go back. There was because they were also fearing a pay cut. Many of them had cut the pay. Even I had not given the complete pay in the first month of lockdown, which was later given to them. They couldn't travel between their place of staying. Though it's hardly 500 meters, but there were issues in travel. Working hours had to be extended because we had created 3 different shifts. So one person had to manage everything. And if they had left, I would have had a big problem getting a new staff. So what we did here, what I learned, merely sitting down and talking to them. Now, most of this staff are less than 26 years. Average would be around 24, 25 years only with me. Very few in the upper thing, except the doctors and the management staff. So sitting down and talking to them, telling the problem, showing them what it is, almost all of them stayed back with me except one. As regards contracting COVID, 3 of my staff got COVID, got them treated. All 3 were hospitalized, got them treated. Hospitalized in the sense, I mean, they're staying in an accommodation provided by us, but they are from out of the state. They got treated, home treatment, but still they stuck on with me even till date. Patient-related problems, this is one place where we get all sorts of patients. Genuine problems where the patient could not come here. If at all, if they come, they are always afraid. When staff is afraid, why not the patients? There was always a risk of cost escalation, thinking that we're going to pass on the cost to them, considering what happened in general hospitals. Less opticals. People were not even buying glasses, let alone surgery. Surgery was near zero. What did we do here? Let's be frank, I didn't drop charges, but neither did we increase the charges, nor we gave anything free. But wherever there was a genuine concern, believe me, a patient who had a trifocal IOL in one eye, hypermature cataract in the other eye, comes and says, is there a camp available? This was the real state to at least 30-40% of Indian population. Some of those patients, we did it for free, of course, with a caveat that they have to pay us later on. As regards the finances, yes, revenues dipped down. EMIs were always there. Salaries, Initially, there was a cut, but they returned all those salaries by March. There was no rental, luckily, own place, but then rest of the things had to be taken care of. But what was important, we couldn't raise this tariff. That's something all of us have to look into as a society. Patients not coming in from out of the area. There were times when patients used to come in from adjacent cities also, but that reduced. Social distancing has increased the time. Social distancing, all other things have increased the time, and in additional infrastructure costs have increased thanks to all the UV lights, our PPE kits, all these things. This has still not been addressed. I thought we were out of danger in February, March, but then with the second wave, still we need some support for this. Yeah, I'm almost. Opticals we had outsourced, so nothing much, completely given it off to someone else. And these were the changes we made, reduced our budget, reduced the inventory. There were no cash to protect, but whatever we got it. Most important thing, I changed my chartered accountant. He showed me a lot of things where we could have saved. Still applying for this restructure of loans and moratorium, and that is yet to come. Now, we were thinking, hopefully, that it will be a V recovery. Later on, thought it might be U recovery when we could have passed out. Now it's going to be W or some multiple Arabic letters. That's going to happen. I just clipped this slide from Dr. Michael's slide, where we are as individual practitioners. People having very small practices, no issues. Someone was trying to get into the next level. We are still here. Went to return and then came back. 3 more steps to achieve that break-even. Now, after lockdown or after this pandemic, what to do? Can we increase the consults? It's a dicey situation. I don't think that's possible. Online consults is very good. Automatize. Now, this is something that is going to bring down the cost of the hospital. Initial cost might be high. Automatized by a good software. And of course, look into these financial burdens that we might be. Impossible is nothing, definitely. Thank you once again for providing me this opportunity.
Must say a very well detailed, well organized presentation on financials. But you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is that yesterday in our session in AIOC, Dr. Vashisht actually gave a list of a new survey they've done called the Atlas of Eye in India, in which they have mapped a lot of centers, clinics, tertiary centers, hospitals, all the panel. You know, you have the whole gamut. What it shows is that 2 things. One is that there is a dearth of ophthalmology in the eastern and northeastern part of the country. There's an excess of ophthalmology in northern, southern, and western part of the country. Now, this itself tells you that what is happening in the field of ophthalmology today. Secondly, there is no system of sharing of equipment. Can you imagine today a single practitioner is also forced to buy an OCT, a LASIK laser, a femto laser. Nowhere have I seen. My neighbor is one of the most expensive lawyers in the country. He is also a member of the parliament. He charges 18 lakhs per appearance in the court. He has no technology except a computer and a laptop. All the money is profit. So there is something wrong in the business plan of ophthalmology of today. Because I cannot visualize a single practitioner being able to recover the investments at any cost unless he does only ophthalmology from morning to night. Now this brings us to the next level of thinking, that group practice may still be far away, but sharing of equipment has to be done, because it is a national disaster to have multiple LASIKs lying idle, to have multiple OCTs lying idle. Every medical college has huge grants to buy equipment. All India Institute alone, RP Center has a grant of 150 crores to buy equipment in a year. New equipment is bought, old is condemned. There is no recycling, nothing. If the government was to put its act together, make it easy for private practitioners to access equipment in these places, a lot of single practitioners would then start flourishing.
Absolutely.
Technology is killing practices, not building practices. It is also taking ophthalmology out of the reach of the common man. And this thought process is just not there in ophthalmic practitioners. How to make, using the airline fares are coming down. The cost of technology is coming down, but the cost of healthcare is going up. So maybe it's time for ophthalmologists to consider whether single specialty hospitals should be allowed, or they should all become multi-specialty, so that if one specialty goes down, somebody else can compensate them. Dr. Lahane and Dr. Mohan Rajan, what is your opinion?
Yes, sir. Lahane, would you like to go first, sir? Or I don't mind. I fully agree with you, Arun. I think it's very important to have a group practice concept, at least sharing the equipment, optimizing the equipment. For example, your OR is, you are using the OR only for 2 to 3 hours a day. The rest of the about 8 or 10 hours is absolutely going waste. Similarly, your femto, your LASIK, or what, so much of investment is there, and you're not going to get a return on investment. And what I want to add, Ilan Kumar's speech was really fantastic. His talk was really covering everything. Is to all of us should think of creating what is called a disaster fund. Okay, which I wanted to do it about 2-3 years back, but I completely I overlooked that. And by the time the COVID came and hit us, the disaster fund is very important. Every month, whatever profit you have, an X amount of profit, whether it's a 5% or 10%, you have to put it in a separate account and don't touch it. It's like a fixed deposit. Don't touch it. Yeah. So this is a disaster fund is something which all of us have to look at. And of course, the group practice concept, which is very, very necessary, because otherwise you cannot overcome a pandemic like this. Lagane sir, you're.
So you're muted.
You have to unmute, sir.
Yes, yes. Yes, you are correct. What Arun Shetty sir and what Mohan saying was very true. Group practice. And Ilan Kumaran, I think you have covered each and every aspect of the single practice. I think that is what we should do it. And now this is the now we'll have to go for the even what Mohan was saying. Some money we'll have to keep for the disaster. Now
Yes.
this disaster we have not seen in last 1 century, but it has came.